Let's draw an artwork inspired by the geometric and organic shape and pattern-based images that Ruth Root, a contemporary artist, makes. First, on your paper, you'll write your name and your class code. You will do this with a pencil. I'm using a marker so you can see what I am doing. On our paper, we have 4 different boxes and an area to write a sentence or two. In the first box, we'll draw geometric shapes. In the second box, we'll draw organic shapes. Then where it says Idea 1 and Idea 2, we'll combine both kinds of shapes to make an interesting design. A geometric shape is a shape like a triangle or a square or something that is a shape made out of regular repeating lines or continuous regular curves. So in the space where it says geometric shapes, I'll draw several different geometric shapes. Again, you'll be using pencil for this part. I'm just using marker so it's easier to see on the camera. An organic shape is different than a geometric shape. These are shapes that are irregular or asymmetrical or look a little bit different. I think it's fun to make organic shapes by moving my pencil around in different ways. So this would be an organic shape. You can also use straight lines in organic shapes or a combination of lines. So I'm using these 2 boxes to practice different kinds of shapes. I could even add a shape on the inside of that shape. Now, the next step for today, after we've drawn our shapes, is to add patterns, which we'll do with colored pencil. A simple kind of pattern would be repeating lines. You can think about what creative patterns you might be able to add. Remember, a pattern is something that repeats. So if I just drew one line, is that a pattern? No. But if I made a lot of kinds of lines, and maybe here I'm going to make it into a checkerboard pattern by adding lines the other way. If it repeats, is it a pattern? Yeah. I can make patterns even more interesting by coloring and adding some kind of design on top. I like the detail that we can achieve with colored pencil when we're adding patterns to our shapes. When we're adding patterns, we want to do our best to fill the whole shape so it looks like the pattern would continue even past the boundary of the edge of the shape. So I don't just have the pattern in the middle, the pattern fills the entire shape. Maybe this pattern I'm just going to do a texture of swirly lines. But I'm still working hard to fill the entire shape. For me, I want to try to do as many different ideas of creative patterns as I can. Now that I have lots of patterns in my geometric shapes and patterns in my organic shapes, I can combine these 2 shapes by overlapping and putting shapes next to each other to make 2 different ideas. Maybe I'll start out in idea 1 by drawing a shape and then adding another shape next to it. Maybe I'll start with a rectangle. And then I'll put a geometric shape behind. And maybe I'll add a triangle. I think it's really fun to combine and overlap different shapes. After I have a combination of shapes that I like, then I can start to add patterns to each part of my shape design. I can also do different shapes that are a little bit more spread out from each other, but connect them with shapes that go behind. So maybe I'll start here with a heart and a square and a circle, and then I'll add an organic shape that connects those 2 and a different organic shape that would go behind that connects these 2. It's fun to try out different combinations and see what ideas you can generate. After you have some shapes drawn, then we can use different pattern ideas to fill them in. So I've started to add a pattern to my rectangle shape, then I would add a pattern to all of these other shapes as well. Once you have both ideas done, you can write about which is your favorite idea and why. So let's imagine that I had both ideas done and I was ready to choose. I could say something like, my favorite idea is idea 2, because I like how the shapes overlap. So we're writing which one is our favorite idea and why. I can also circle idea 2, so I remember that that one is my favorite for next week when we get to take our idea and make a final version. Today we're planning and generating our ideas. I'm so excited to see your shape and pattern combinations inspired by artist Ruth Root.